Welcome back. We're on day 22 of this war, and today this conflict crossed a line that no analyst, no intelligence agency, and no government was fully prepared for. Iran fired a ballistic missile at Dimona. Let me be precise about what that means before anything else, because the word Dimona carries a weight that demands careful, deliberate treatment. Dimona sits near one of the most sensitive locations in Israel, the Shimon Peres Negev Nuclear Research Center, long linked to Israel's undeclared nuclear weapons program. Al Jazeera Israel has maintained a policy of deliberate ambiguity about its nuclear capabilities for decades. It has never confirmed and never denied possessing nuclear weapons. But the international intelligence consensus, held by virtually every major power, including the United States, is that Israel operates the only nuclear arsenal in the Middle East, from facilities in and around Dimona. And today, Iran fired a ballistic missile directly at that town. The Israeli army confirmed a direct impact of an Iranian missile on a building in the city that houses a nuclear research facility. Al Jazeera, a direct impact, not a near miss, not intercepted debris, a confirmed direct missile impact on a building inside Dimona. An Iranian missile strike on Dimona injured 34 people, among the wounded a 12-year-old boy and a woman in her 30s who sustained moderate injuries, with the boy's condition later upgraded to serious. Bloomberg, a 12-year-old child seriously wounded by shrapnel from a ballistic missile in a town next to a nuclear research facility. The attack marks the 7th missile strike on Dimona and its surroundings since midnight local time. CNN, the 7th strike on the same town in a single day, and the IDF announced it will launch an investigation into the failure to intercept the missile that struck Dimona. That investigation is significant. Israel's air defense system failed to intercept a ballistic missile headed directly for its most sensitive nuclear location. Now let's establish the sequence of events that produced this strike, because the cause and effect chain is the most important thing to understand about what happened today. The strike on Dimona came hours after a U.S.-Israeli attack targeted Iran's Natanz nuclear enrichment complex. Iran condemned the strike as criminal attacks, saying it violated international law and nuclear agreements, including the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and warned of wider consequences. Al Jazeera, Natanz, was struck first. Iran struck Dimona in response. Both sides are now targeting each other's nuclear facilities. That sentence should be read slowly and completely. Two countries with nuclear connections, one with a declared enrichment program, one with an undeclared weapons program, are exchanging strikes on each other's nuclear infrastructure. The International Atomic Energy Agency confirmed the Natanz attack, but reported no rise in radiation levels outside the facility as it launched an investigation and urged restraint. Al Jazeera, no radiation leak confirmed at Natanz, no radiation leak confirmed at Dimona. But the IAEA issued a call for maximum military restraint, which is the strongest language the nuclear watchdog uses short of declaring a radiological emergency. Iran had previously warned it could target Dimona if Israel continued striking nuclear sites. A military source told Tasnim news agency that Iran has shifted its strategy, signaling a move beyond a policy of proportional retaliation. The source said Tehran now intends to raise the cost of any attack, warning that future responses will be broader and more damaging. Al Jazeera beyond proportional retaliation. Broader and more damaging. That is Iran formally announcing on the record through a named military source that its targeting doctrine has escalated. This is not a threat buried in diplomatic language. It is a public strategic declaration. Iran is telling the world that whatever comes next will be larger than what came before. IDF Chief of Staff said the campaign is at the halfway stage, and that Iran's missile fire at Diego Garcia shows Berlin, Paris, and Rome are all within range. NBC News, Diego Garcia. That is the British Indian Ocean territory where the United States operates one of its most strategically significant military bases in the world, the base from which B-2 stealth bombers have historically been deployed for long-range strike missions. Iran fired missiles at Diego Garcia, and the IDF Chief of Staff used that fact to tell the world something that Europe's governments need to hear very clearly. If Iran can reach Diego Garcia, Berlin, Paris, and Rome are within range, that is not a rhetorical flourish. That is a geometric fact about ballistic missile range. Iran's longest-range ballistic missiles have demonstrated operational reach that extends well beyond the Middle East. Now, I want to fact-check Trump's statements today because they contain claims that require direct verification against the documented evidence. Trump said, "The Strait of Hormuz must be protected from Iranian attacks by other nations who use it," and called NATO cowardly over its lack of support for the Iran war. CNBC cowardly. The President of the United States called NATO cowardly in the middle of an active military conflict. Let me fact-check that specific framing. NATO allies that have refused to send warships to the Hormuz coalition include Germany, the United Kingdom, Greece, Italy, France, Australia, Japan, Poland, Sweden, Spain, and Finland, which described Trump's request as illegal. The G7 issued a statement saying it is ready to act to protect global energy supplies, and that it is important to safeguard the Strait of Hormuz. G7 said it was ready to act to protect global energy supplies and stressed the importance of safeguarding the Strait of Hormuz. NPR, ready to act and important to safeguard is diplomatic language for we agree this matters, but we are not sending ships yet. Whether that constitutes cowardice or strategic caution is a political judgment. What is verifiable is that 0 NATO ships have been confirmed deployed to the Strait 22 days into the war. Let's look at what Iran claimed to have struck today beyond Dimona, because the targeting list is extraordinarily broad. Iran said its naval forces destroyed facilities at the Al Minhad base in the UAE and the Ali Al Salam air base in Kuwait, claiming they were used in attacks on Iranian territory. TV guide Al Minhad in the UAE, Ali Al Salam in Kuwait, both described as destroyed by Iran's naval forces. Those claims require independent verification. The UAE and Kuwait have not confirmed the level of destruction Iran is claiming. What is confirmed is that both facilities have been struck previously and that military operations at both have been affected. Iran's use of the word destroyed should be treated as a claim pending verification, not an established fact. The IDF said, Saturday it carried out a strike on a strategic research and development site at Malik Ashtar University in Tehran, saying the facility was used by the Iranian regime to develop components for nuclear weapons production and is part of Iran's military industries tied to its ballistic missile program, according to the IDF. The university operates under Iran's Ministry of Defense and is subject to international sanctions for its role in advancing the nuclear program and missile development. Bloomberg Malik Ashtar University in Tehran struck by Israel. This is a university. It is a sanctioned university with documented military research connections, and Israel has cited those connections as legal justification for the strike. But a university is also a place where students, researchers, and civilian staff work and live. The casualty figures from that strike have not yet been independently confirmed. Now, I want to address the helium story because it sounds almost mundane against the backdrop of nuclear facility strikes and Diego Garcia missile fire. And yet, it may be the single most consequential supply chain development of this entire war for the global technology industry. The Iran war has halted Qatar's helium output, posing a threat to global technology supply chains. CBS News helium is not a luxury commodity. It is an irreplaceable industrial gas used in semiconductor manufacturing, MRI machines, fiber optic production, space launch systems, and defense electronics. Qatar is one of the world's largest helium exporters. When Rosslafan went offline, Qatar's helium production went with it. There is no short-term substitute for Qatari helium in the volumes that the global semiconductor industry requires. Every chip fabrication plant that runs out of helium stops producing chips. Every hospital that cannot get helium faces MRI machine shutdowns. This is a supply chain consequence of this war that will be felt in hospitals and electronics factories on every continent within weeks if the disruption continues. There is one more development today that I want to address because it represents a complete reversal of a position the administration held as recently as this week, and the reversal has enormous strategic implications. Earlier this week, Trump said he was not putting troops anywhere. Today, Reuters reported, citing a U.S. official and 3 people familiar with the matter, that the U.S. was considering deploying thousands more troops to the Middle East, potentially even landing on Iran's shore or on Karg Island. The U.S. military readied plans for ground troops in Iran, according to a report. NBC News ground troops in Iran. Netanyahu said regime change requires a ground component. The IDF chief said the campaign is at the halfway stage. The U.S. is reportedly drawing up ground troop deployment plans. And Iran just struck the town hosting Israel's nuclear facility for the 7th time in a single day, while simultaneously firing at Diego Garcia. Iranian cluster bombs smashed into an empty daycare and several other sites in Rishon LeZion in central Israel. NBC News. An empty daycare. The mayor of Rishon LeZion told reporters after the strike to look what time it happened and that there could have been kids at this kindergarten. The strike occurred at 8 in the morning. Israeli schools and daycares have been closed since day 1 of the war for exactly this reason. That closure, which disrupts the lives of millions of Israeli families, is the only reason children were not in that building when Iran's cluster munitions hit it. Here is where the facts leave us on day 22. Iran struck Dimona, the town hosting Israel's nuclear research center, 7 times in a single day after Israel struck Natanz. A 12-year-old boy is in serious condition. The IDF is investigating why its air defenses failed to intercept the missile that hit Dimona. Iran has formally declared it is moving beyond proportional retaliation to a strategy of raising costs. Iran fired missiles at Diego Garcia. The IDF chief says Berlin, Paris, and Rome are within range. Trump called NATO cowardly. 0 NATO ships have been confirmed for Hormuz. Qatar's helium production has stopped threatening global tech supply chains. The U.S. is drawing up ground troop deployment plans. Iran's cluster bombs hit an empty daycare in central Israel at 8 in the morning. The IAEA called for maximum military restraint. And the IDF chief says the campaign is at the halfway stage. We are on day 22. The halfway stage, according to Israel's own military chief, means at minimum another 22 days. Every number in this war will be larger on day 44 than it is today. We will keep verifying every claim. We will keep counting every cost. Stay with us.